Hello, thanks for taking the time to watching this presentation. My name is Nebil, and this is my UML diagram for the ultimate tic-tac-toe game. As you can see at the top left, this is the box class, which contains a integer row and integer column that are both assigned to 3. So it's a 3 by 3. And the small board right underneath is a two-dimensional array, string array contained 0 through 8. Right below there's a package visibility S string, and there's also a string named winner that's also a package visibility. Within this class there is a package visibility constructor that takes in a integer row and integer that assigns integer row and integer column. Right underneath there's also a package visibility method called set placeholder, and as a parameter it takes in string placeholder and a integer square that returns a boolean value. Right underneath that we have a package visibility method called get placeholder that takes in an integer row and an integer column, then it returns a string. And then following that there is available method that returns a boolean that is also package visibility. Right underneath that we have a public method called get small board that essentially just returns the small board two-dimensional array as a string. And then we have a private visibility name integer to string, which essentially has a integer square value as a parameter and returns a string. You guys can see that this box has an aggregation relationship with the board. This board has 9 boxes within it. Then this board also has a string called name, a integer named board row size, an integer named board column size, and these are all private visibility. Right underneath for the board we have a custom constructor that's a package visibility. It takes in an integer row size, integer column size, and a string name. I'm not going to furtherly explain this UML diagram in detail. That way I can save some time to explain my code. I will be submitting this UML diagram as a PDF copy. However, I did want to show this how the tic-tac-toe game has a association relationship, and the computer has a aggregation relationship with the tic-tac-toe game, because essentially the computer there's 2 computer players within the tic-tac-toe game, and the driver essentially calls the game class that actually starts the game. So there's a dependency relationship between the two. So let's actually go to the Eclipse to actually see the code into detail. First off, this game uses 2 players, 2 human players. I know the requirements for this task was to have an AI player versus a human player. However, I was trying to implement having a player and then just kind of extending a computer player and a human player. Essentially that was my goal, and I felt like I was spending way too much time trying to implement that. I did have a AI player where I just created a random method for the second player, but I just really felt like that wasn't the best way to do that. And that way, so with that being said, I just kind of removed that random method because I didn't think it was efficient again. So I just stuck with dealing with a human player. So with that being said, let's go into the box class. So again, within the box class, you have a row and column for each box, and I wanted it to be 2-dimensional, so it can contain the numbers 0 through 8, just like that for each box. And there's again the string S, and you can see that it's used to get placeholder from small board and return as a string. This winner essentially is assigned to each box winner as either X or 0. So I want to just make sure that if there is a winner for this box, let's say, that O can't come back and win that box 2, right? So if X already wins, then this will get flagged to either X or 0. Then we have our custom constructor, that takes in the row and column, assigns row and column, and also assigns a winner, again, to either S or X. The placeholder pretty much gets a string and like the box number, square number, and it goes through the loop. And if, within small board, if that spot is equal to 5 or 4 or whatever the user inputs, then that specific position will be either set to X or O. And if not, then that position isn't available. And then for get placeholder, again, it does the same thing. It goes through the loop, and for this time it's getting a row and column, and whenever we get to that specific row and column, we're gonna assign that to S and return that S value. So the isAvailable method pretty much just kind of goes through the loop of small board and verifies if there's a number that's represented in string from 0 through 8. If there is, then that lets us know that, hey, there's an available position on the small board. If not, it's going to return false. This method just returns the small board two-dimensional array. This method right here pretty much is a method that returns a string, and it pretty much prints the row depending on what box we're in. And the main reason why I wanted to print the row was to have it formatted just like this. So it was hard for me to implement this, by the way. And I figured the only way to do this, since we can only print line by line, this was a way for me to kind of print, box and then row, box 1, row 1, box 2, row 1, etc. So that's why I implemented this print row how it is. And this integer to string method essentially takes in the integer that the user inputs and it returns it as a string. And as you can see right here, when I enter that integer, the integer square, it converts it to string and compares it. And then the board .java controls each box in an array, has a board and size. It assigns the column and row and the name. It sets size. It initializes boxes. And this method right here, the print, you can see this is where I formatted it, and etc. Right here is where it makes a move. It gets a player mark, the box number and the square number, and for example, if box 0 and we're passing in the mark and the square number, right, if it makes a move, then we can continue on. If not, then it lets the user know that that position isn't available. And for get mark, we're getting the box number, row and column as parameters, and for that specific box, and get placeholder passing in the row and column, and we get that mark. For this specific method, row winner, this only checks a row winner for like the small boxes. And you can see right here is when it sees if there is a winner, right? If it's already set to null. So if there isn't a winner, then it goes through the process of seeing if each individual box, right? If there's a winner for X, the first row, second row, third row for X, and then it checks for 0, 0, 0, And it pretty much is the same thing for the column, the right diagonal, and the left diagonal. And again, these are to emphasize just for the small boxes and not the big board. And then the computer class is pretty much self-explanatory. You have your name, your mark, your computer player, get name, get marks, set mark, etc. The driver pretty much controls the entire game. It starts the game by calling tic-tac-toe. And then again, the tic-tac-toe game is pretty much the majority of the requirement for the functionality of this game to operate. So with that being said, it has 2 players, and then it has its board as well. It has marks X and 0. The name of it is tic-tac-toe. And I really want to kind of focus on where the game starts. So pretty much it asks the user to select the valid box. And if that user enters a box that doesn't exist, it'll inform that user, and it's in a while loop that's true, so it always execute until it breaks, right, until one of these digits actually exist. And then from there, I also want to emphasize that it was difficult for me to put the first player's move within do while loop, because it was hard for me to put the first user's mark, and have the second player go from the first player's move. Yeah, the first player is outside of that loop, and then you can see when it starts to do a while loop, it switches a player. It does say it's the first player's turn, but it's actually the second player's turn. And it was easy for me to select the valid square number, and I'm always passing in. Where is it at? Let's see. Yeah, right here. So this right here, this while loop, allows me to pass in whatever that they selected for the box number. That way we can ensure that the players are selecting the correct square within the box that they're forced to pick in. And then down here, the game is over when there's a winner or the board is full. For a winner, there's a row, column, right diagonal, left diagonal. And then for the row win, these actually check to see if there's a row win for the big board, right? It controls the big board. And then, for example, right, if board 0 is equal to board 1, if board 0 has a winner and board 1 has a winner, and board 2 has a winner, of course, for the right, so boom, 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 then the game is over, right? And it does that for X and 0, right? I is equal to 0, I is less than 2, and I'm passing in the marks of X or 0. And then it does that for column as well. It checks if board 0, 3, or 6 wins, right? So you have your 0, 3, and 6, and then etc. It does the right diagonal, right? 0, 0, 4, and 8. So 0, 4, and 8. And then also does it for the left diagonal. And I really just want to run this code really quick just to make sure that there's a winner. That way my video is not over 15 minutes. I have roughly 1 more minute before it hits 15. So we'll go ahead and do that really quick, just to show that there is a winner within this game. So give me a second to do that. Let's run this code. Alright, you can see that it says, welcome to the tic-tac-toe game. Player 1 will have mark 0, player 2 will have mark X, mark 0. The game will start after player 1 enters the box number and the square number on the board. Please select the valid box. So we're going to do 4. Right, please select the valid square on the box 4. So we enter 4, and then 4 is right here, puts X. That's player 2's turn, and you can see that selected box is 4, so I can only select the valid square on box 4. So I'll select 2, right? And then now it's 1's turn, and they can only select on box 2. I'm going to enter some number that's out of range, so 23. You can see the square 23 does not exist. Please try again. So I'm going to select 1, and you can see that it's player 2's turn. And once I do that, I'm just kind of going to go through the motion of running this one more time just to get our winner. So let's do this fast. hopefully someone wins this game to show the demonstration of it. Again, fingers crossed someone wins. Aha, so player 1 has won box 5. We can see that they won here, here, and here. Player 1 has won the game. Thank you for watching this, and I am pausing the video right now. Bye-bye.